session today. I'm your host, Sing Tong. Shall you have any question or suggestion? Do not hesitate to put them down in our comment section. Besides, do hit the like and share button for our Facebook Live and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Capital Dynamics. Remember to stay tuned to the end of our live session as we'll be giving out two of our newsletter subscription at the end of our live session. Stay tuned, and to stand a chance to winning these prizes, do interact with us more with the comment below. The topic today is a personal tragedy. What is it so special about the topic today? Our, our special guest, Teng Boo, Fund Manager, Capital Dynamics, will share with you. Welcome, Teng Boo. Welcome.
Welcome, Singtong. Yeah. Uh,
How was your day today?
no, I showed the picture just now. Yeah, this
yeah.
picture. It's a photo of a landslide, of a massive landslide in Genting, at the foothills of Genting Highlands. On the way, it's very near the tunnel. You know, when you drive from KL on the KL Karak Highway, there's a tunnel, long tunnel, right? So this road that leads up to the Genting Casino is just a short distance before the tunnel. And the photo that I shared a while ago, this was a landslide that happened in June 1995. Yeah, and I guess why we're talking about this a personal tragedy is because on that day, on 30th June 1995, my parents, my father and mother, sat in a taxi. They were going up for just a short weekend at Genting Highlands, and then a landslide, a huge landslide. I mean, the photo that I showed you, it shows a massive landslide that blocked the entire highway, and both my parents were inside the taxi, and the taxi driver, well, they saw the landslide coming down, and the taxi driver tried to reverse as fast as he could, but he couldn't make it, and my father died in the landslide, and my mother survived. So, I mean, I'm thinking about this because of what's happened to Batang Kali about a week ago, when 30 people died, and 62, well, in total there are 92
Yes.
people that were affected. Out of the 92, 30 died. And in the 1995 Genting landslide, 21 people died, including my father. And there was also a very small, I think it was a 5-month-old baby, was also killed. So when I recall, when I read what is happening in Batang Kali, or the kind of similar type of tragedies, I always think back, because it was painful, not just because my father died in the landslide. He was 70 years old at that time. He was very healthy. I mean, took very good care of his health. He stopped smoking a long time ago, and the when you die, when a person dies because a person has cancer or ill health, you have a lot of time to prepare for it. If let's say the person has been having cancer or whatever it is for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, the person himself or herself, or the friends or the family members around surrounding that person, have a lot of time to adjust, to accept the the new reality. But in a disaster such like what happened in Batang Kali or in 1995 in the Genting Highlands, you have no time because it happens so suddenly, and it's a shock, it's a trauma. And in my case, in my father's death, it took me, I think, about all in all, it took me about close to 14, 15 years before I could come to terms with his death. You just, each time you think back, you just cannot accept it. You know, why does it have to happen this way, and so on and so forth. And I can imagine the families and the friends of those Batang Kali victims would be going through something very similar to what I experienced in 1995. Yeah? And like I said, in my case, it was doubly traumatic because my mother and father were in the same taxi in the back seat, and my mother survived. Now you would have thought that that is something to be really thankful, but my mother felt after that experience, my mother felt extremely guilty that why is it that she survived while the husband died, and it took her many many years. It was the psychological impact, the guilt that she felt, whether it's justified or not, the guilt was there. And it took her a long time to be able to accept the fact that she survived and yet the husband did not. And in her case, the her lungs were both her lungs were filled with a lot of mud, and she was infected because mud has a lot of bacteria, and she was infected for many years. It took her quite a long time to be able to get her lungs cleared again. So, you know, in this sort of tragedies, in this sort of disasters, I'm sure the people involved, the victims and the family members and their friends involved in the Batang Kali would go through. You read about where the rescue person found the mother and the child hugging each other, embrace each other. And if you don't go through this sort of disasters, this sort of tragedies yourself, it's hard. It's hard for you to imagine what the trauma is like. So, like I said, it took me, I think, about 14, 15 years to come to terms with the fact that my father has to die in the land. He has to die in the landslide. So I just felt that, well, I just want to share this sort of experiences with whoever is watching today. Yeah.
So, Teng Boo, do you have any
Mm.
do you have any idea on why
Mm.
is it the
Mm.
disaster is getting more and more extreme nowadays? Like
It's,
recently, already getting more and more.
you know, in 1995, I was extra angry because the works minister, Sami Velu at that time, immediately they blame it on the act of God. And then, you see, on that day itself, I can still remember very clearly in my mind, our office was in the Animal Medical Center in KL, and it was about 6 o'clock when I received a phone call to say that something terrible has happened to my parents. And then I rushed back from my office to my house to pick my ex-wife and my son, and to find out what is happening, and then discover that there was this accident in the Genting Highlands. So I rushed all the way to Genting Highlands, and of course the whole thing was you can't access it because the rescue team were all there. And I called. At that time, it was known as Resorts World, the company that operates the Genting Casino, which is part of the Genting Group. I called the people in the Genting Highlands and asked them and pleaded with them to please, because they have a rescue team up at the top. I said, look, the landslide has occurred in the foothill of your highlands, and we from KL we cannot get access to it. Can you send your rescue team from the top down, because you can come down from the top and that's the fastest way. I was passed around from all, from one department to another department, and it's not just passing from one department to another department that was so frustrating. It was the way they treated it. It was like as if, oh, it's no big deal. And then you could hear the employees of Genting Highlands talking behind at the phone there. In a way, they were like treating it in a very indifferent manner, like as if, what's the big deal? And I think the response of Resorts World or Genting Berhad is totally intolerable, is totally irresponsible. And like I said, I think Genting has been cursed by so many people who have died that they have been so irresponsible. And then you have this minister, Sami Velu, act of God. What the heck? What do you mean by act of God? God doesn't kill people in this manner. And then the other minister says, no, it's because of hill cutting. Yeah, but who approved the hill cutting? The Minister of Environment at that time, Mr. Law Hengding, said, oh, it's due to hill cutting development around Genting Highlands. Yes, but who approved the development of Genting Highlands? Or MTD, the company, a construction company, MTD Berhad, that built the tunnel. Because in building that tunnel, the KL Kara tunnel, they did a lot of blastings. They have to blast the hills. Did the blastings shake the stability? Because, like I said, this landslide occurred very near the tunnel. Did all these blastings shake the stability of the earth, of the soil around that area? And therefore, when it rained, the landslides would occur. So that was 1995, right? And now you hear these sort of disasters. At that time, Prime Minister Mahathir, oh yeah, we'll call for independent investigation. Bullshit. 27 years later, there's no independent investigation. There's no independent investigation of MTD, none of Resorts World and Genting, none of the parties. So, was it really an act of God, or was it some greedy people who just want to make a lot of money and then do not care about the safety and the lives of the ordinary people? Because at that time we set up, the other victims, we set up a committee where we appeal for experts, any experts, because these are very technical issues, whether geologists, geophysicists, soil engineers. We even had a media conference to appeal for experts to come and help us to investigate the real cause of the tragedy. And as I wrote in our iCapital publication in 1995, I said, our purpose is not to point finger, our purpose is not to blame someone. Our purpose is to make sure that we find out the truth of such tragedies so that future disasters can be prevented. In 1995, 21 people died, including my father, right? So at that time, I already wrote the final number of victims is not 21 person who died. The final tally of people who suffer from such tragedies would be the final tally of all the disasters that we did not prevent. So of course, after 1995, there have been so many, where the most recent one is the Batang Kali. So now Batang Kali, at the initial media report, they say, oh, the campsite operator has a permit to have an organic farm, and that did not have a permit to uh, manage a campsite. Then a few days later, subsequently, they say, oh, actually, you don't need a license to have a camp to operate a campsite. And then now is what? Today is 22nd, 23rd December, right? And I can guarantee you, very soon, it will all it will all be forgotten. Until the next disaster, it will all be forgotten. People will have forgotten about it, and people will not know the truth. People will not know what really caused all these unnecessary accidents to happen. So, I mean, do we want a country? Do we want to have a country where our government is like that, our people is like that, that we are so indifferent to this sort of tragedies? If that's what we want, then of course we face the consequences. But there's something that can be done. So I think these are wake up calls. And looking at the weather, the extreme weather patterns that not just Malaysia is facing. In Australia, right now, it's December, it's been almost 2 to 3 months. South Australia is still facing severe flooding problem. Murray River, which is the longest river in Australia, is still the water level in Murray River is still at a level which is too dangerous for the people to be near there, and they have to evacuate. And that's already 2 to 3 months. So you find there's extreme weather all over the world. And together with government and people who couldn't care less, I can guarantee you there'll be a lot more personal tragedies to come. Right? In my case, it's okay. My father has died, my mother has died. So, in that sense, my personal tragedies are all history. But for those of you out there, right, now with the rain, it's constantly raining, and then the meteorological department is forecasting that this extremely severe weather condition is going to last until maybe January or even February. When you go out to your next holiday, whether it is to Pahang or to Johor or whatever it is, do you are you worried, or are you so blasé that you will not be able to face this sort of this sort of disasters, this sort of tragedies? Because like I said, it's not like as if you have a cancer or you have a sickness where you can prepare yourself, prepare your family for your eventual death, right? This sort of tragedies, it hits you when you least expect it, and it is very difficult to adjust to such shocks, such traumas.
So, like Teng Boo, you say, they are all ignorant. All the parties ignorance about.
It's not that they're ignorant; they're just
Don't care less.
they can't
Don't
care less.
Then what should they do? Like what is?
No, they're not
actually-
going. They're not going to do anything because they can't care less. When a person doesn't care anymore, then the person won't do anything. It's up to the ordinary people, up to the Malaysians, ordinary Malaysians, to pressure the government to take actions, to investigate, to set up commissions, royal commissions, or investigative committees, independent ones with the authority and the power to find out who are the guilty parties, what are the real reasons. And then we can improve, right? I mean, in Klang Valley itself, I'm sure there are in other parts of Malaysia. In Klang Valley, you hear so frequently where the residents of a certain location, right, keep complaining to DBKL, why are you allowing such a development? Why are you allowing the development of a condominium when there's a high risk of landslide? For example, there's this area in Bangsa where the residents have already complained so many times. Why are you allowing this high rise development when it clearly shows there are risks of landslide? So you approve it. It's years later, a landslide occurs, people die then. Who bears the consequences? So it is not ignorance. The disasters, there are so many disasters that happen so many times that you cannot be ignorant anymore. Unless you're
Exactly.
deaf, dumb, and blind,
Yep.
right? So it is the attitude of can't be bothered. No, it's not my family, it's not my life.
Not related to me.
They are not
Right?
related to me. So who cares?
Yep.
The only way to make them care is for the ordinary Malaysians to do something about it, to
Put pressure on
put
the
pressure
government.
on the government, the authorities, right, to investigate the whole matter.
Well, it's time to wrap up our today's live session. But Teng Boo, today is like a sharing session, right? We don't have a Q&A done.
No, we can have Q&A,
We can have Q&A.
yeah, if they have Q questions.
But the time
I mean,
for our
it,
live
it, it
session.
doesn't have to be a Q&A, it could be sharing. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are people in our Facebook and YouTube live that have also experienced personal tragedies, right? If they have, we would love to share. I mean, the more we share, the more we understand. I think the better it is.
So
for
shall
the
we choose the best shared
Yeah, if you have,
experience?
I don't know whether you have any or
we,
not.
we can after our live session we can choose the
Yeah,
two best
sure.
sharing experience
I
for
mean,
the
the
from
whole
the
the whole idea is not for me to pour out
personal.
my personal feelings because this happened in 1995. It's just that the Batang Kali tragedy is so close to me because I went through it and I know what it is like. And I know that if you haven't gone through it yourself, you do not know the trauma, the psychological pain, and the emotional adjustment that you have to make to come to terms with this sort of disasters.
So shall we come up the two best sharing experience from the
Yeah, sure,
from
sure,
our viewer? Then we'll give them two of our
sure.
newsletter
Of course,
subscription.
of course. Yeah.
Then yeah. So stay tuned and the
I
our
mean,
newsletter.
the sharing doesn't have to be now, right? The sharing
Yeah.
could be
You leave your comment.
leave your
comment
comments,
in the
leave your
comment
sharing.
section.
Yeah,
Yeah.
leave your sharing. Like I said, the more we share, the more people share their personal tragedies. I think the better it is for the Malaysian community.
Yes. And we will come up the two best and we'll give him two separately of our newsletter subscription to the winners.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all for the live session today. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah. Have a good holiday.
Have a good holiday. Merry Christmas.